On behalf of ACG Los Angeles, good afternoon and welcome. Today we've brought together a terrific panel for our second in our CEO Roundtable series. Now, candidly, when I first connected with today's moderator, Anthony Zanontian, co-CEO of Anthony's Goods, I thought our discussion would be focused on the collective exit from the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, here we are, spiking numbers, reclosing businesses, and it feels like students may never return to school, unless you're in Orange County. As such, we have an opportunity to hear insights from a panel of CEOs, operators, who can talk through where they are today and what they're looking for tomorrow. Now, for those in our audience, if you have questions during the presentation, please place those in the chat box on the right of your screen. Time permitting, Anthony and our panelists will address those as they're able to. Now, with that, I'm going to turn things over to Anthony. Anthony?
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to moderate an interesting panel of diverse companies. Also, like Michael said, there's a live chat that I'll be referencing throughout the conversation. So feel free to drop in a question, and if I catch it all, I'll ask the other panelists. I think we'll just jump right into it. I'm going to ask each CEO for a quick intro or elevator pitch. Maybe Nancy, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Nancy Liu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Enplug. We are a leading digital signage software company. So we are the software that businesses use if they have hundreds or thousands of screens inside of their corporate offices. You can also see us powering the screens inside of the elevators, manufacturing facilities, banks, hotels, etc. One of the things that I get really excited about for Enplug this year is because of the situation now, where actually we launched a whole suite of work from home products. So things like if you wanted to have employees screensavers show specific corporate content, our software also enables you to do that. So we're based here in Los Angeles, but we've got offices around the world in Brazil, the UK, Poland, Japan, and Australia.
Awesome. Victor?
Cool. Hey, guys. Nice to not see any of you, but meet you virtually. I'm Victor. I'm the CEO at Evite. Hopefully you guys have all gotten one at some point in time. Hopefully not too recently, because we're all about bringing people together face-to-face, unless you're living in a safe zone. So yeah, we're the world's largest platform for bringing people together face-to-face around their important life events. We'll send out, in a normal year, a couple of 100 million invitations out to a large chunk of the U.S. Around a quarter to a third of the country will get an Evite. I live in the Bay Area, just outside San Francisco, but our headquarters are down in Los Angeles, and we have an office in Chicago, New York as well.
Great. Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am the CEO and co-founder of Beyond Yoga, and we've been in business for about 15 years. Beyond Yoga is a clothing company that is made for people of all shapes and sizes, and we're produced in Los Angeles. And yeah, we've been at this for a long time, making really comfortable clothing to make people feel amazing about themselves. And our big goal is just, to be a brand that is inclusive of everyone. And that has been our mission since day one. And it's exciting to see the world, embracing that right now. So good times.
Great. Yeah, and in full transparency, I'm wearing a Beyond Yoga shirt. And Victor, my son's 3-year-old his birthday is next week. He's turning 3 years old. And so I'll be sending an Evite out for that. And Nancy will connect after the call to get some screens up in our manufacturing center. So, okay, I think it would be sort of interesting to sort of talk about how everyone's business performed before COVID and during COVID. I don't know. I mean, we're still sort of in COVID, but like Michael said, it hasn't really ended. But maybe let's do before, sort of as COVID started, and then what we're calling the new normal. Whatever this normal is. Maybe Victor, you want to start that off?
Yeah, so sure. So pre-COVID, Evite, of course, was super robust. Again, sending out a huge chunk of invitations. We will send out in a typical year about 6 to 6.5 million invites for parties. and each one will bring in 20 to 30 guests. So kind of a very large footprint. When COVID hit in March, of course, we took a existential hammer to the business. So as you can imagine, similar to restaurant dining out, there was a period of time where almost nobody was sending out an Evite. Our business went down by 95% in terms of the party flow. And our business model at a high level, it's based on advertising, premium services. They all effectively carry along with the event flow. So as events go, our business model goes. What we saw during COVID, during the last 4 or 5 months, God, it seems like a year. It's just been like 3 or 4 months. We've seen a steady, pretty linear improvement in the number of parties. That was the low point, and every month it got better and better and better. And in June, we were only down by a little over 40%. So I was actually feeling very bullish about how fast the world was coming back, how fast parties were opening up. And again, we were seeing a mix of parties at that point in time. In-person parties in some areas that were safe, but also, of course, virtual parties, which you can do on Evite now, and social distanced parties, which are these fascinating things like baby car parades, where you get into a parade and drive around in front of someone's house. They call them drive-by parties, which I say is a horrible name because, at least from LA, like a drive-by is not got a good connotation, but that's what people are calling it. We saw a little dip recently in the last couple of weeks, as California checks this, but it's not. It's not a huge drop. So my gut is that we're going to kind of absorb it and kind of trickle along and continue on a slow improvement curve over the next. And that's the big question. How long will it take to get back to normal? I'm assuming right now it takes at least 12 to 18 months to get back to normal.
Yep. Michelle?
Well, at Beyond Yoga, we were looking at 2020 as going to be our best year ever. We were super excited. I just made some pretty key hires. We had just relaunched our website on a new platform. We were moving over to Shopify, so we were feeling really excited about that. And and then COVID hit, and we took a ton of cancellations. So about 70% of our business pre-COVID was brick and mortar. So we sell to a ton of wholesale partners. I would say 70% is wholesale, and of that, probably 80% is true brick and mortar. Like we sell to REI, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, every Pure Bar, and fitness studio you can think of, YogaWorks, Core Power. And so obviously, we knew that there was going to be a big problem coming, and we were about to ship our first delivery of summer on the 15th, March 15th. And I remember I said to my team, just call everybody. If anybody wants it, they can keep it. But if they don't, it's okay. And let's just cancel it. And we're, traditionally booked out quite far. And, we went ahead and we just canceled everything. Mm-hmm. And we just didn't want to have our partners feeling that pressure, like they owed us something. And we figured we'd have the best visibility to our inventory if we just got all of the orders out of the system, because we didn't think they were real orders anyways. But we have been pleasantly surprised. Our direct to consumer, which was originally doing around 30% of our business, has really skyrocketed, which has been the saving grace for the company, especially because the margins are so much stronger direct to consumer versus going wholesale. So that has definitely been amazing for us. And we also have seen some of our partners really thriving as well. So, the ones who are online have all done really well. And we've just shifted our model, to more of an immediate model for our accounts. As they're opening and closing, we're not taking pre-orders at this point for the studios. We're just working on a B2B platform that we implemented during this time, so that they can write orders as needed and ship them immediately and not have to worry that we may not fulfill something. And so that's kind of where we are.
What was the first week like when you guys found out that everything was closing?
I mean, it was just cancellation after cancellation. And my team thought I was crazy because they were like, just ship the orders. And I was like, we are going to get through this. We do not want to, be the partner who leaves stuff on someone's doorstep, and, it just doesn't make sense. And I think I think we had a great response from our community, knowing that we were actually going to work with them and take those cancellations. I think that was really great. And now we're in the complete opposite, where we can't keep up with the orders, and everybody is kind of fighting for inventory. So
for other people that sort of run similar businesses, what do you think caused the majority of the sales to increase for the direct to consumer part of your business? Was it online advertising? Was it just natural? What do you think is the strongest thing that they could do?
I think there's a multitude of reasons. I think people are going to continue to shop. I think there is a component of retail therapy where people, even if you're at home, you still want to be doing something, and that was something that made people feel good. In our particular circumstance, we are apparel, and we are super comfy, cozy apparel, so that worked out well in this particular situation. But I think that the online advertising, I think so many people stopped advertising during that time, and so the acquisition fees for new customers was just a record low. And we a lot of people, a lot of my friends and other people in the industry said, we're just shutting off our advertising. And we actually leaned into it. We were like, this is the time to acquire new people and get the word out about our brand. And so we leaned into it.
Cool, great, awesome. Nancy?
Yeah, so we're mainly a software-based company, or we are pretty much fully software company. And so our software is powering screens inside of physical venues. So pre-COVID, majority of our new customers that are coming in are lots of just corporate offices, lots of tech companies. So you'll see our screens powering, the screens inside of offices ranging from Google to IBM. And so of course, tech companies being a core piece pre-COVID, they're all probably companies that can work remotely. And so post-COVID, the increase and the surge that we saw in new customers were actually healthcare facilities, so hospitals, urgent care centers, biotech companies. So for example, the NHS, which is the National Health Services of the UK, it's the UK's entire hospital and healthcare system. So they were going to roll Enplug out later this year. They were already scheduled to do that. And they came back and they said, we need to have screens up in our hospitals like right now. And so they actually started rolling out Enplug at the end of February because they wanted to have the real-time communication. So replacing posters essentially with safety content, lots and lots of real-time safety content on both, reminding their staff to wash their hands, et cetera, if you see these are the symptoms. And then of course, manufacturing facilities, food manufacturers. So that's where we kind of made up the sales that we lost from corporate offices signing on board to now essential businesses, logistics, shipping, et cetera.
Awesome. And then how do you see things like looking forward? Do you guys see a continual increase, or do you have clients that are starting to drop off now because they're realizing maybe the office space isn't really something they want to renew moving forward? Do you guys, how does that look?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we haven't seen the drop off yet because most of our clients are really large businesses. And so they still, they're still planning and anticipating. I think that they'll probably open up at some point. And so, if they have hundreds of screens, it's unlikely that they're going to just turn off our software and say, we are not. But what we have done for the ones that came to us and said, hey, we're not going to be in the office until we know that we're not going to come in until November. Can you extend, whatever we were paying for the last few months? Can you extend our contract and services? And we've always said yes to those requests.
Cool, great. Okay, I thought I had a couple of questions about sort of diving into each of your businesses. Just sort of give the audience some idea of what maybe forecasting looks like for companies now, maybe help out other people that are trying to think ahead. So I'll jump to Michelle because she's sort of inventory based, and then maybe we'll go to Victor and Nancy that are more tech based. So Michelle, how are you guys planning for inventory? I'll just quickly talk about us and say it's very difficult because we're food, we're an essential business. We saw a huge uptick over the last couple of months, and we saw supply chain issues across the board. And so I'm curious to see, are you guys thinking similar to a company like us where we saw a huge uptick, but we don't know if we should be investing in inventory. We don't know if it's a mistake. a very tough time to make a call. So someone else that's in an inventory-based business it'd be good to hear from you.
Yeah, it is definitely the hot topic around the office. We, Beyond Yoga manufactures everything in Los Angeles or right around Los Angeles, but we supply, our chain is global. So we have fabrics coming from all around the world. And fortunately, we are manufacturing here and we have a lot of control, or somewhat control, I could say, over making sure that there are like safe practices going on. Our demand has increased over 100%, and trying to make sure that we have enough manufacturing going on at the moment has definitely been a challenge. But in terms of the raw materials, we've made the decision to invest. It's been, and when things initially happened, I tried to cancel as many fabric orders as I could, and then I quickly had to go back and see if people could get them quick. And so that was interesting. And, we are looking at fabrics that have more versatility. There's the ability to buy fabrics that are like, prepare for dye. So you can cut into garments and then dye them into, the colors as needed. But you also run the risk of, each element of the supply chain is an unknown. And so, your silk screen or your dye house can be down and that can stop everything. So we're very deeply stocked in our core fabric of space dye. That's like the #1 favorite for everybody. Your shirt is the featherweight version of that. And so those two fabrics are where we went very deep. But I have the understanding that we are going to walk some sales. Like there's no way, to avoid it, but we wanted to go as deep as possible in the core colors, to make sure, that if I did overshoot this, that we'd be able to work through it in the future. But so far I've had to move everything forward, and I've just been trying, working out the logistics of, are we still making the margin if I'm air shipping this? And, it's still working out at this point. So, but I have had to tell my sales team, that they can't bring on new accounts. They need to service the accounts that we have, and they can't bring anything new on until, like we have large accounts that want to start carrying our brand, and I have told them they can't even start until next year. So, they're good problems to have, but, we're forecasting specifically like by channel at this point, and just using the information that we have to make the best decisions we can. But definitely we know that direct to consumer seems to be the the most where we can plan the best.
Cool. Victor, how about you guys? So, for sort of a product development backlog, that's usually 3 months looking out, 6 months looking out, depending on sort of what type of programming sort of atmosphere you subscribe to, Kanban or Scrum or whatever it may be. How are you guys planning ahead? Did you guys scrap the backlog and say, okay, there's a new reality, we gotta, these are all the new products or versions or pieces of software we're gonna release, or did you guys pretty much keep on the same track but maybe fork off a couple of new ideas?
Yeah, no, from a product perspective, we did a foundational, what we call the existential pivot back in March. We took our entire product roadmap and threw it away and said, what's the new world? There is a chance that physical kind of in-person events are going to be depressed for multiple years. And this was, again, very early, right? We didn't have any visibility. One thing was very clear to us, that people are not going to stop throwing birthday parties or celebrating life's moments. And so we had a very clear vector, which was like, these things are going to move virtual in some way, shape, or form. So we have to expand our brand promise and our brand canopy to that. So our entire product roadmap went into virtual. So you could embed a Zoom link. We actually have my screensaver goes dark. I get dark. We even have a kind of embedded one-click video offering for video party where you don't even need Zoom or Hangout, right? You just send the invitation and it's all right there. So that effectively consumed the team for the last 3-4 months in terms of product roadmap. And now we're revisiting trying to forecast forward and say, what's the future? That, of course, is really hard in terms of your forecasting question. We've had, historically, we have these great models for the guests and the hosts and how that all works. We would do our planning based on that, but literally we've tossed all that out the window. And it feels arbitrary, but it's really I think by the end of the year, half the world might be back, and we're going to make our planning assumptions based on that. Which is when I told the team, otherwise, the degrees of error are so large on your models, it's just wasted time. Like, let's just put a stake in the ground and assume that that's going to happen, and be conservative. So we do have advertising partners, for instance, right? So it's relevant for what we sell in terms of Q3, Q4 advertisers. Because if we don't have advertising inventory, we would underserve them. So it is important from that perspective. But I like the philosophy of over delivering for your partner and doing the right thing as opposed to under delivering. So I share that with Michelle.
And sort of before sort of COVID, was the revenue split mainly towards advertisers, or was it subscription based? Like, what was the
historically, Evite's been predominantly advertising. Like last year, we were maybe 70-30, but we're on a path to go 50-50 mix of advertising and premium services and commerce.
Gotcha. And so, is it just as important? It was all eyeballs, right? So that's what you guys were trying to serve prior to COVID. So by introducing these services, you're still providing something that's going to attract customers, right? So it's not like, even though there are no more in-person parties, the virtual side of things will be enough eyeballs to sort of serve that same advertiser base.
No, actually, the crazy irony is a virtual party is worth way more money to us than an in-person party, right? Typically, guests have a very light touch point on Evite. On an in-person party, that's where's the party, where am I going, right? Versus a virtual party, we have them for an hour in an interface where we can serve advertising and branding. So
the whole time, right?
Virtual actually is a bigger. It could be a way bigger business for us long term. So we were excited about it. It's just got a weird dynamic where, in the short term, when people are all zoomed out, you see the virtual parties going down. The minute any market is remotely open, people flock out to in person, which is good for the other half of our business. So we win in either scenario.
That's how you win on both sides, right? Yeah. Very interesting. Nancy?
Yeah, I think when we think about, planning ahead, we had, like Victor, set out basically a certain type of roadmap. So a lot of, so we have an app market, and in our app market, there are lots of different apps to show different types of content. Everything ranging from, like, you have a Slack app, you have a Zoom app to show, whatever specific things in your offices and screens. So when COVID hit, within that first month in March, we were like, well, we were going to basically do this whole series of, like, employee engagement content. And we're like, well, people aren't really in the office. So that really makes so much sense of, like, celebrating, like having like an anniversary app where you upload all your employee names, and then when their anniversary hits, it's like, congratulations on your 5-year, et cetera. So instead, all of the content we came out with was, for example, a COVID safety app. And then a health and safety app specific for manufacturing facilities that have, that are interacting with lots of products. And then we had another app specific for our hospital clients. So it really shifted completely to curating product and content for the essential businesses. And then for the corporate clients, because they were still, paying for the subscription for screens. Instead, we said, okay, you can actually port that over to all these work from home products that we had planned out. Basically, we were going to release them later this year. We moved that up to say, okay, now you have just access now to all the screensavers where you can engage with your employees via these custom screensavers. And so even our marketing campaign completely, of course, shifted. So we did a campaign. First, it was show safety content on the screen. So that was pretty much March, April, May. And then starting last month, then it was because there were companies that were returning to work, then we are doing now this return to work campaign. And so pretty much across the board, our teams have shifted to adapt to the environment.
Gotcha. And how long does it take you guys to make that change? Are you from, let's say, ideation to launch for your development team?
Well, we had no idea COVID was really going to hit, and that was going to be a huge deal. So from beginning to end, basically it was all hands on deck. And we put out our first COVID safety app within 2 weeks. So it was basically end of March, and we had this first app of all these different safety content. That it's all pre-made content and videos, both English and Spanish. And for our corporate clients, they can just click on it, and it's for their own safety and also reducing their liability too. Instead of these paper posters, now you have these screens that are showing the safety messages that are timely. And some of the clients, they also are using our software to show the shifts of who is supposed to be there, and having that updated instead of the paper posters that they would have that said, oh, this person's going to come in for this shift, etc. It all became digital. An interesting thing also that happened, we don't service a lot of restaurant or hospitality clients, but one surge we actually did see were restaurant clients. And I think it's because nobody wanted to touch the physical menus. So they were all switching over to having digital menus. And so we had a bunch of restaurants just coming in, signing up to use our software to show menus on screens.
Awesome. Well, we got, I think, one of our first questions. So I'll just, since Nancy is talking, we'll just throw it up. The question is, do you have the immediate ability to provide corporate messaging safety related in various languages depending on demographics?
Yeah, so because we're used in just across, like all around the world, all of our apps actually are capable of showing, I think we support like 15 different languages. And in terms of all the pre-made corporate messages, we have lots and lots of templates. So it's super easy to change out the language and to basically, if you need it to be in Spanish, you need it to be in Chinese. It's really, we make it really easy to do that.
Gotcha. And just so everyone understands, the way it sort of works is you guys send out a dongle to the company, they plug it into a TV, it's Wi-Fi enabled, and then they have access to some sort of interface that they can choose what they want to throw up in a timely manner, language-wise, et cetera. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, in our industry, there are these digital signage media players. So a lot of clients, they may already have a media player connected to the screen, or they'll buy. Basically, we recommend one. It's an NVIDIA Shield player. Oh. It comes with our software. You plug it in, and as you mentioned, you connect it to Wi-Fi, and then there's a Enplug online dashboard where you can see all the thousands of screens that you have, or whether you're a restaurant, you may only have a few screens, or you could be some of our clients that have tens of thousands of screens, and then you basically can say, these are the screens I want to schedule to show this content. The East Coast is going to show a different set, etc. But yep, you got it.
Awesome, great. Okay, I have a couple more sort of pointed questions, and maybe go back to Michelle. I think that we saw sort of a shift in lifestyle dress. I'm going to call it the reverse Brooks Brothers effect, where people are not wearing suits anymore and want to be comfortable. And I think you guys were sort of correctly positioned to take advantage of that new change. As you mentioned before, you saw like 100% growth. Talk about some other touch points that were affected. I mean, something as simple as like, did you run out of boxes, or what? So what were you guys dealing with on a day-to-day basis that comes from 100% growth?
We've been dealing with tons of issues from the growth, but definitely the shift in lifestyle has been helpful to be in this space right now. We feel very lucky. I know that there are people right now who are making tuxedos, and it's just not the time for tuxedos, but it is the time for athleisure. And I feel very grateful to be in this space in this moment. We also have always had a lifestyle component, and sweatsuits and casual dresses and easy wear, wash and wear clothing. So it's definitely been an opportunity to reach out to new people and serve more people, which has been amazing. And but we're running out of things, and we are disappointing people. And it is hard. Where people are disappointed with the lack of inventory that we have. We're constantly trying to get back in, trying to make the decisions amongst some of our wholesale partners versus our own direct to consumer. Where do we serve the inventory? There've been many challenges with that, but there have also been a ton of opportunities. Some, in the very beginning, when we took all of the cancellations, I was sitting on, millions and millions of dollars of inventory. And, it was a nice opportunity for some of our partners who may have only looked at us as an athletic partner and only bought more of our performance-based, clothing, like Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus, to start buying things that are, more the lifestyle and the sweatsuits and the casual sweaters. And we're actually expanding into, we expanded into men's during this time. And we're also have a sleepwear capsule coming out. And, it's just an opportunity to introduce people to new things. And it's also been an opportunity to have our wholesale partners explore different areas that, we've tried to talk them into in the past that they weren't as open to, and now they've seen success as well. So definitely opportunity.
What are some of the strategies you guys are using to make sure people are notified that things are coming back in stock for the direct to consumer business?
Well, I think we just got it implemented last week on Shopify that if we're out of stock and it comes back in, that they're finally getting an email letting them know. So before that, we were actually having to reach out to people and keep track of, some of the people and the frustrations and trying to let them know when things were coming in and out of stock. So I'm very happy that I don't know the name of the software that we just implemented, but I know it's been about 2 weeks, and happy we're letting people know.
Have you guys you looked into any sort of like texting? Is that sort of acceptable in your space?
Oh yeah. So we are also we have for our customer care team, they have direct texting as a way to communicate with the customer, but we're also doing advertising over texting at this point.
Oh, wow, great.
So
are the conversion rates pretty high? I'd imagine for texting people.
It has been a really interesting area to watch grow. So that's something that we got into during the pandemic.
Oh, cool. And then I think we have a question for Michelle too. How do you see your competitors like Lululemon and Alo Yoga shifting during this time? Are there differences in successes of the pivots versus you guys, or are they too large to shift the boat, or how's that looking?
I can't speak to Lulu. I would say obviously they're very large. I would consider Alo to be a pretty similar size business to ours. And I know that one of the things that we have in our to our advantage is that we are we are manufactured domestically. And so we haven't had to deal with as many challenges. I've heard that we are doing one of the best in fulfilling orders to our wholesale partners, which I am proud of. But I don't really know everything that is going on with them. I think that right now, Beyond Yoga, because of our positioning since we started, almost 16 years ago, we've always been about inclusivity and diversity. And I know that has been something that people have really rallied behind. And I think it has been a reason that people have, flocked specifically to Beyond Yoga, because we have always had that mentality. And I know that given the current culture and climate in the world right now, people are paying attention to what brands stand for. And I know that people are happy for, with where Beyond Yoga's true mission comes from and what we're driven by. So that's been helpful.
Cool.
Getting into men's clothing, Michelle, I have a men's pant. I bought basically no clothes over COVID, but I bought 4 pairs of actually rock climbing pants that are, the cut's awesome. Like I can actually wear them out, but they're also like incredibly flexible, and they're like tough enough to climb rocks in. So
amazing. Well,
I'll send it your way. It's a great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna send you guys all gift cards so you can get Beyond Yoga. But the men's stuff sold out in like 24 hours. So I'm working very hard to get that.
I'll definitely check it
back
out.
in. So
definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think I've heard that sort of the ultra premium brands are suffering, sort of like your Burberrys of the world, etc. Now, my guess is because people just can't show other people what they're wearing at the moment. So I don't know if there's any truth to that. That's just my instinctual feeling. Okay. Sorry. I don't know.
No, I was going to say, one of the things that we have noticed is like we are selling a lot of sports bras, more so than normal, and a lot of shorts. And so part of what I attribute that to is two things. One, they're accessible price points. Those are two of our lower price point items. But also, like, I haven't been a person who would ever, wear a sports bra in a class when I'm working out with other people as the only garment that I'm wearing. It has traditionally been like, under something. And when I'm working out at home, I will work out in a sports bra and a pair of shorts. And I'm a little bit more daring with some of the things I wear. So just a thought.
Okay, Victor, I had another question, but someone asked something in the chat, so I think I'll shoot it. So let's talk about employees. During the pandemic, have you guys made any specific changes for employees regarding health or mental wellness, etc.?
Yeah, no, it's actually it's a topic that's top of mind. I'm on a CEO council. I was just on this week with about 20 other CEOs. That was actually the top topic, which is how do we, as we run these virtual businesses, deal with any mental health issues? And I think the collective response from that crew was it's not a burning problem, but it is like bubbling, and we feel like it might hit a point, kind of a boiling point soon. Especially if you think of, there's no end in sight at this point in time, and kids are going to be going back to school soon, or not going back to school soon, right? You have other instances where we've got examples of young folks that are single, that join the company, move to LA, and then poof, there's no social activity, there's no company, right? So they're literally just islanded off in the middle of Los Angeles. So now, sadly, we don't have any great. I don't have any great answers. We of course have, through our healthcare provider, we have the access to counselors, that type of thing. But we don't, we haven't rolled out anything formal at this stage. We do small things, like the other day we had a social happy hour, again virtual. People wore masks, had some drinks. So we try to do small things like that. But no, it is definitely a concern. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else wants to answer. I mean, we've done in-person conversations. I'm not in person. I mean, as in person, it's like Zoom chats with various teams to make sure we're getting FaceTime with each employee, and we always ask, how's everyone doing? How's the mental health? Like, be sure to reach out if something doesn't feel right. It's just as important as making sure the work gets done, making sure you guys are healthy.
One thing we rolled out a really lax work from home policy.
Yeah. Similar.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go to Nancy. Nancy, for Enplug and sort of work from home in general, are you guys seeing employee productivity sort of drop off because they're working from home? Have you seen that increase? What's your sort of feedback in that regard?
Yeah, in terms, I was kind of worried. I was wondering what that would be like, but given how much product we pushed out, still the increase in sales, et cetera, I don't think so. I think people are pretty productive based on just the numbers. And I do want to touch upon basically, things that we were doing for our employees during the pandemic. I want to, kind of give a shout out to, we have folks on our team that really are thoughtful about this. And so we did a lot of things. So one, we have one of our teammates who said, I want to lead this coffee break session where every week you're paired with somebody random, including our teams in other countries that they never really actually interacted with before. And now they're doing Zoom calls with our teammates in other countries. And that's been a really fun experience to kind of see. And we weren't really doing that before. And we kind of have this great excuse to do that. Another thing is, so of course, during the pandemic, one of the really big things that also happened was the Black Lives Matter movement was also happening. And so we had our teammates lead conversations and discussions around that. And we also gave every person in our company, including our international team, a budget where they can use that money to donate to any organization, whether it's an organization that's trying to find and support families, et cetera, in need during this time, or it was also to any organization that was supporting our Black Lives Matter movement organization. So we also did that as an initiative. And then something that was more personal, I've worked most closely with our leadership team, and most of our leadership team, they're all in LA. So and I kind of like have been, I feel like a hermit at home. So it was a good excuse for me, but I kind of made gifts and care packages and I hand delivered them and kind of surprised them. I was wearing masks and we were like 6 plus apart, but it was kind of like I really, really enjoyed it. I spread it out over the course of across a couple of days, but I personally really liked doing that. And it was kind of a good reason to see some of the people that I work most closely with.
Awesome, great. Okay, I've got sort of an open question for everyone, just to let other people know where your guys' heads are at. What are your plans for reopening the office? If there are any plans at all, and what's the timeline look like for everyone?
Yeah, I'll go. Ours is super easy. We're not going to formally open. Like at some point when the city says, "Hey, it's good," right? We'll go through the motions and make it available. Again, completely optional. I don't know that we'll stock it the way we used to have the kitchen and all the lunches, like all that stuff will probably just be on hold, and we'll have the physical space open and clean for folks if they want a respite from the crazy kids at home.
Do you see that happening in the next 6 months, 1 year? What's the timeline you're sort of thinking of?
That was just going to take the lead from LA, basically, kind of city by city basis. So.
Yeah. Michelle?
Same for us. I think one of the things that we will change is basically we'll probably, if a lot of people want to go into the office, some of my teammates in LA actually said they, because they knew nobody was going to the office and we still are paying for the services to get the office cleaned every night, some people have just been going to the office. And so I think for us, it's that if you want to, we'll kind of set schedules of which teams go at what time if people want to go to the office. But as Victor mentioned, also looking towards, whatever LA County is setting as the guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're also looking to the county. But, for us, I don't think I think we've learned a lot about how we can work as a team and how the organization can grow and how to utilize our staff. And so, there are certain departments that I definitely wouldn't make come in as often, but I do think it is important, and it does make me happy to hear that you guys are planning on opening your offices in the future, as we are as well. Because as I hear about a lot of tech firms planning on not having offices, I do worry about the future generations and the young people who are looking to that for, a social activity, but also as a place where they're learning and they're getting exposure to different departments, and they may come in thinking they want to be in marketing and, overhear some of the conversations, with a different department and have the opportunity to get pulled into meetings. And I do feel that is, something that is a disservice to the youth right now and for people in their career development. There are so many times where, I'd be having a conversation and somebody would happen to be in the room and I'm like, sorry for interrupting, but here, stick around and listen to what we're talking about. Let us know if you have thoughts. And, I think that's so much of how people grow and learn. And so, I definitely hope to have the office open again in the future. For now, we're adopting a similar, situation in terms of, there are people who really need to be in the office. We have some sample sewers and they luckily they're married, and so it's, they're already in each other's, inner circle. But, like we have fittings that, we do design work that it is almost impossible to do over the computer. And so we've been having in-person fittings once a week in my front yard. And I get a little crazy and I set it up and I label, the people's chairs, and I have, hand sanitizer at everyone's stations, and, but we have to see things in person. So, but it does make me really happy when the team comes over, and it is, it reminds me how lucky I am that I get to see members of the team and how important those social interactions are. And, I just want to circle back on also like other things, because I think, Nancy, what you were talking about, that coffee break idea is such a great idea. I want to implement that like immediately. So thank you for sharing. Some of the things that we've done at Beyond Yoga is, we got every member of the team, we got Headspace as a way to encourage some meditation. We we moved forward with our summer Fridays because, making sure that people are taking those rests. We also used to have monthly all hands meetings, and we've gone to weekly just to have that,
FaceTime.
moment that we're all coming together and seeing each other. But it's also a time to remind everybody of our wins, and also to remind people to take care of themselves. And, I feel like that is my constant preach, but this is, you have to take care of yourself before you can, give to others, and, making sure that everybody feels supported and knows that, we're there for them. And then other small things that we're doing, we had a ravioli cooking class in the middle of the day yesterday. We're trying to do different activities to involve the team to get them to take a break. And then also we have every Friday we're doing DoorDash for the entire team. So we're buying them lunch once a week, which, we were providing snacks and stuff, as you mentioned, Victor. So this is just a way to do it for people
cool.
at home.
That's a great idea. I like that idea. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I love the Headspace idea.
Yeah, and Headspace. Do you know if people are using Headspace? Are they using the?
I haven't, from what I gauge from people, they tell me they are, but it's not like there's, a back end to see if it's really being utilized, but I hope they are. Cool. I'm using it. It's helpful.
Yeah. I definitely agree, Michelle, with the collaborative environment. I think it just creates new ideas, and it's super important. So we're looking forward to opening our offices as well. But again, like everyone else, we're just waiting to see what the guidance is. But my gut says it'll be a blend moving forward, because we've proven that you can grow and still work from home, and employees are doing their jobs. I think before the call, Victor was saying how everyone was sort of worried. If we make a shift to work from home policy, will the work still get done? And we saw that it was absolutely a yes. So
yeah, 'cause, the reality is the number of hours of super productive in office time, right? It's not a full day. There's the commute, and then there are all these other dynamics that are of course valuable in terms of socializing. But in terms of raw work hours, I actually think work from home frees up more, and it also frees up, which people totally underappreciate, the multitasking. Right? It's incredibly rude to be in a meeting and be typing and on your phone, but I'm coding on the side right now. You guys don't even know. I'm just kidding. But you can multitask on 3 or 4 screens. I don't know about you guys, but I find my per hour productivity is actually up leveled at home.
And I think it's, at least I don't know about you guys, but at least for me personally, I find myself checking in at different times of the day where I normally wouldn't have. I'd always wake up and be on my laptop in bed, and then you go to work, you come home, and then at a certain point I would just normally turn off. But I feel like different parts of their staff members are working at different hours, so it's giving me weirder breaks throughout the day. But it still works. I think we're all getting through that. Okay, cool. So I want to take a step away from COVID. I know it's a lot of COVID talk, but for a moment. And I think it'd be interesting to see if there's any new trends in your space that you guys are looking at personally, or something that you think is interesting that we haven't touched on. Nancy, or Victor, or Nancy, you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah. I think in our space, the digital signage industry, I think the trend, which has been already happening for the last several years, is everyone is digitizing everything. Posters are all getting transformed to digital screens because the cost of screens is really, really cheap now. And now it's about, what's the best software to power really great content on the screens. So something that we also think is going to happen inside of the home is a lot of folks have screens inside of their home that usually, if you're not watching TV, the screen is just black, right? And one of the things that we think is going to happen, and so we've actually built a free app around it. So anybody who wants it, it's a Enplug art app where you can actually have beautiful, we've already licensed all these free artwork from famous artists and contemporary artists, where you can show now, turn your TV screen into basically this painting or artwork. So we definitely see inside of the home, people are going to have create digital experiences for themselves inside of the home. And so Enplug's got a free one, the Enplug art app. if any of y'all want to check it out.
Awesome.
Cool.
My friend tried to start that. He had that as a side business. He called it Art Lion. It was his vision of like, let's do art in the house. He folded his company, but I'll send him your app and as a
All right.
like somebody else did it.
We have it. I think it's really hard to charge consumers for something like that. But because for us, the reason we did it is I wanted all the screens. Well, I guess you can sort of see one here in my living room. The screen is showing art right now. So I wanted it just for myself. And so I kind of, as CEO was like, yeah, so we're going to turn this into an app and we're going to free. Everybody's going to just like be able to use it because fortunately we have this other source of revenue that can support this free app.
Yeah, cool. Victor?
Yeah, I think the big one for me is this virtual, the opening of the social virtual party. There's a whole wave of behavior. I'm sure you guys have done this. You guys probably have done virtual get-togethers with college buddies that you had never talked to before, right? You probably did a virtual birthday party with someone that, right? So this can's been opened up, and then it's actually been suppressed because people are on Zoom fatigue because they're working all the time. But the core essence of it is going to be, I think, a long-term change. So in a world where the world is back to normal, I do think there's going to be a large number of these new virtual social parties that are actually in the system. So that's probably the single biggest thing that I've seen as far as the trend.
Cool. Michelle?
I would say the biggest trend I'm seeing right now is at-home fitness. And, I think that I'm, just really intrigued by how, companies like Peloton and Mirror and how, people are adapting to, that way of working out. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in the future of fitness, because I think that, obviously health and wellness is such a big part of our society and so important to so many people. And, we're all trying to adapt, but I think that I personally have been using Peloton at home, and I have found it to be completely transformative, and it has, changed the way I look at working out. I used to every morning get up at a certain time and have to make it to this class that was in a specific time. And like some days I left my kids, before I wanted to, before I had to leave for work. And like now I'm like, oh, wow, like working from home, I have this ability to see my children at different points in the day, but also like work the workout around my schedule. And it has been really interesting and helpful. So
yeah, we do something super fun we have a trainer, and then we have 3 families and all of the kids. And we do this twice a week. We have an hour workout. He's amazing. But we all do this virtual family workout together. It's gotten me in better shape, right? I can't get the kids off of Fortnite, so it's like the only exercise they get. But no, yeah, something that we would have never done before. And now that's opened up, right? New behavior. We might keep doing it.
Playing Fortnite.
Was that canceled?
It's not the kids that are playing Fortnite.
All right. I mean, I put this sort of question here. I don't think moderators always do a great job of asking the right questions. So I don't know if I know I always think of something if I'm on a panel and someone else is speaking. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to ask them a question while they're talking. So I don't know if anyone has thought of anything for the other panelists that haven't really brought to light as we enter sort of the last 5 minutes of the talk. But any questions for each other that I didn't sort of poke at?
Yeah, my question would be, what's the one single thing that's given you the most mental health personally over the last 3 to 4 months? I'm curious.
I could take it. I swim every day. So I'm lucky enough to have a pool, and I put on goggles and I swim for 25 or 30 minutes. And so that's just, I have a young toddler, and that's painful sometimes, but I love him. Yeah, I love him to death. But any parent that says otherwise is a liar. So, so I think that the break is super important.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I'd say for me, it's mine's either that group workout, like that does give me that sanity, or it would be Zelda on the Switch, which is one of the best video games ever made. And
greatest video game ever made.
Yeah, maybe it's a candidate.
Yeah.
You feel like you're traveling, even though you're sitting at home.
Nancy or Michelle?
What about you guys?
I mean, I'm going to say definitely my Peloton. But I would also say, I have certain friends that I have like scheduled, hangouts with that are, virtual. And I think that those are so meaningful and have really helped. It is tough when you are, in an island by yourself and you're only thinking about work, and to talk to other people who are going through similar challenges and remind you to laugh. That's been really helpful for me.
Nancy?
For me, it's music. I've played more music since March than I have in, I don't know, I feel like all the combined past few years. I've practiced piano, cello, and violin so much that it would truly make my Asian parents proud.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. No, it really is a lot. Like there was one night, I think like a few weeks ago, where I think I started practicing at 8 and it was like 1 a.m. Like 8 p.m. and it was like 1 a.m. and I'm like, this is good. Is something wrong with me?
That's awesome.
Well, we have a couple more questions. I don't know, Michael, if you want to jump in, but we have a couple more questions that I'll sort of throw out that since we're nearing the last few minutes of the chat. And I think sort of point at Michelle. And the question is, are there any issues with your supply chain vendors? I don't know if you guys buy from China or not, but just in general, have you guys seen breaks in your supply chain?
Yeah, we have. We don't source heavily out of China, but we one of our favorite fabrics comes from Brazil, and they're definitely struggling right now. And we put in our orders for, I'm bought inventory wise through February of next year, and they basically came back and said, we're just not going to be able to take the orders that you put in. So they had to reduce what we're offering by half, and so now I have to go back to some of our wholesale partners and, move them into other products based on that. And, which is why it's really important to have, global sourcing and backups for things. And, we do the majority of our manufacturing, as I said, in LA, but I just started talking to a manufacturer up in San Francisco because I'm realizing how important it is to have diversity, because whatever is even going on in each region is impactful. And I'd say the area that I'm the most nervous about is, our 3PL. We have a warehouse that, has been shipping all of our goods, and we are so grateful that they have, remained open. And, because I think that also we've been providing masks, we were, able to keep shipping during certain times, but I don't know what we would do if they went down. And so we've been trying to put in place contingencies for that too. But it is very, it feels very fragile, but we are doing everything we can to prepare for every crazy scenario.
Yeah, I mean, we were just having a conversation internally, and I think we said we've been challenged at every part of our supply chain, like sourcing, manufacturing, distribution, last mile. Everything has been challenged at some point during the last 3 months. So it's definitely been fun. It's been something. But like you said, it's good problems. Like I think we're some of the lucky few that have done well in this time. But you can't really complain. Okay, interesting. Last minute, and I think I'm supposed to turn it back over to Michael.
Yeah, you are, Anthony. Well done. And thank you, Anthony. Terrific job of moderating the panel. Michelle, Nancy, Victor, for sharing your perspectives. These are really kind of challenging and seemingly ever-changing times that we're in. And so I know for the audience, hearing kind of real-time insights from operators, from actual CEOs who are out there trying to solve these problems on a day-to-day basis is really valuable and helpful. So thank you for that. Before we end, for our viewers, I want to quickly highlight our next panel, Consumers and COVID. So we're going to be featuring the CEOs of clothing company Johnny Was, bottled water company Icelandic Glacial, furniture company Addison Living, and then we'll have senior executives from Lion Capital and Comerica Bank. So that's Wednesday, July 22nd at 4 p.m. And I think it's interesting as we're having this conversation. I mean, it seems like over the last several months, how the United States is handling sort of this COVID pandemic has been sort of almost like a homogenous conversation. We've been handling it as a nation in one way. And I think what we've seen over the last, well, maybe not quite a month now, is sort of a fracturing, right? Whether that's geography, culture, ideology, that type of thing within the United States, right? It's going to be interesting as operators for you guys that have sort of a national footprint, what that looks like, right? As you know, Orange County deals with it differently than Los Angeles County, or the southeast of the United States different than New England, and that type of thing going forward. So it's just going to be a developing situation. And I know, Anthony, as you and I were chatting with the group to begin with, you know, we may be in this reality for another 12 months, right? And what does that look like in terms of operating, where these things that we may have felt like were temporary concessions that we were making as operators are going to have more permanence, certainly over, you know, a year and a half, that type of thing. So, you know, maybe we'll invite you back in 6 or 8 months and kind of stress test some of the information that you guys shared today and see where we are then. But in the meantime, again, thanks for your time, and for our audience, thank you for your time. And so with that, I wish everyone a good evening, and I hope to see you back soon. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.